So going forward, we are going to talk about inventory management. Now, why is this a crucial component in your business plan? Because inventory is going to play a vital role. For example, let us consider for a manufacturing unit, wherein we talk about a manufacturer who is producing a good X. Let that X be chairs. Now what happens here is he needs to have an optimum level of inventory that needs to be placed at every given point of time. How do you arrive at it? Usually what happens, this sheet gets connected to the sales forecast, because you would have forecasted X amount of sales that need to happen, and based on that is where you need to keep your minimum inventory. Now this minimum inventory will automatically have an impact on the funds that you need to keep in working capital. Let us see how all these three are interrelated. For example, let's say that you have forecasted an order of 500 chairs every month on month. Now when you're doing it, you need to have at least 2 months of the chairs as your working capital, or to be as a minimum inventory that is essential. Why do you need a minimum inventory? Because there have been times where suddenly the spike from the market comes in unexpectedly, and if you are not in a position to deliver anything at that given point of time, things change. So you always need to have a minimum optimum inventory. Now what happens in inventory management is, it might be inventory which is going to go into the market or going to be purchased by a consumer. But at the same time, you also need to ensure that your production is running 24/7, because machines cannot be stopped, because the more you stop, the cost of your production keeps increasing, and the more you keep them running, the cost of production keeps coming down, but at the same time you will be having more amount of output that you need to push into the market. This is a very tricky scenario where you need to manage both your demand and supply. Now when it comes to inventory management, even for a grocery store, for example, you may not have all the vegetables with you at one go, and whenever you get a call from a requirement that is coming in from a customer, I need X amount of things, you need to ensure that some minimum optimum inventories are always maintained. Yes, in perishable commodities, inventory play a vital role, because the moment it gets perishes, you need to write off those inventory. So you have to keep a very sharp eye on how the lines are been going on. So that is where inventory management comes into existence, where you need to ensure what is the basic minimum optimum inventory that has to be kept in at all given point of time. Now one more thing that you need to understand is, whenever you are keeping an inventory, you also need to be understood that tomorrow if that same inventory does not move into the market, it is going to become a dead inventory. So this is where a management call or a strategy that needs to come in, because every connected part of the strategy will also have a connection with inventory management. Now when it is an inventory that is going to be there, it is going to occupy a space that will ensure your rentals of your warehouse is going on. So you need to keep all these parameters in mind when you are designing your inventory management. It might be good that inventory has been done. If that inventory does not get sold, it goes on to become a dead inventory. And specifically, if it is into a perishable, is the business where you are operating, it becomes a complete write-off inventory, because you cannot have it for a longer duration of time. So keeping these things in mind, you need to understand how the demand is going to come in. It might be a fluctuation or a spike can happen. Like for example, in the present scenario where suddenly there was a requirement of mask and hand sanitizers, which no one had even thought of. Now during this time, you cannot get the whole production running into 100% at a very short span of time. Nor you can think of buying suddenly machines and then getting more amount of produce to happen in, because the demand has gone suddenly. So keeping these things in mind, you need to ensure that you have some amount of minimum optimum inventories at any given point of time. It is going to be a very tricky thought process, because you never know how market is going to react to things. Sometimes there could be, you would have thought that there would be a spike, but there has never got it trickle down into the conversion of the orders. So these kind of things will also ensure that your bottom line in cash flow gets affected, because inventory and the amount spent on inventory will be automatically considered in cost of goods and services, which we are going to talk in the next video, and that will ensure that your bottom line gets hit along with how you have been progressing. So that is how inventory management is going to be a critical component, specifically if you are into manufacturing sector, and much on a greater side it will be if you are into services and if you are into specifically into perishable commodities. Hope you have got it right. Thank you.